So, Jo, thanks for agreeing to take part today. And just a little bit of background, probably from you, on how you got involved with the project.
So this is the Deaf Netball project, isn't it? Or the
I think the project in whole, so Deaf Get Active as a project. So way back in the beginning, probably when you first heard of the project, how did you get involved with it? What was your role?
my role back then was as event director of the park run, and I was trying to make I felt at the time that the park run was geared more for people who could run, people who could just turn up, run, be impressed with their time and go home again. But I was seeing it from a point of view where I wasn't a runner, I was just a person trying to get fit. But it also made me realise that there's other obstacles to be able to take part as well. So whether it was people with sight loss or sight impairments, I felt it important to open it up to to everybody really. So people who wanted to be able to walk, people who had sight problems, people not being able to hear. I wanted to make the park run all inclusive. Unfortunately, I did struggle with some of the people that I was working with because they were very much from a running background. And so I was no longer involved in the park run. But I was doing a lot of netball, but I still wanted to feel, because a lot of people have said to me that I made a difference to their park run and it gave them the confidence to go along. So I still felt that I had something to give. So I thought about transferring those skills maybe to netball, which is when I started learning sign language. So maybe we could have deaf netball going on so that other people could enjoy it in the same way that I had done, but just try and work out what the barriers were for them, how to overcome them, and how to just make it sort of a bigger netball family, really.
Mm-hmm. So how would you describe your role within Deaf Get Active?
First of all, I would say as a netball buddy, but also I would like to think of someone who is willing to give things a go. So if someone says, we've got this project lined up, would you be interested? Then I'd love to be a part of it. So not just one particular sport.
Yeah,
I'd like to be involved in different things, anywhere that I could make a difference, because I feel that I have got something to give. And I don't know, without it sounding as if I'm doing this for me, but I like the fact that I made a difference in the park run, because people said to me that I made a difference to how they experienced it. So I feel that I can make a difference to other people. So within the project, I like to think that I can help to make a difference, to raise awareness, and things like that, really.
So it's kind of being that real hands-on support for deaf people.
Yeah, because when I started learning sign language, and particularly at the moment with coronavirus, when my tutor's struggling, because if people are going to start wearing masks, they can't lip read. It's things like that. It's raising awareness and just being a part of it to sort of try and bridge two groups of people together who would get on well together, and just a few little tweaks either side, it can just, it's bringing communities together.
Absolutely. And that's what the project's about. So what elements do you find most rewarding then about volunteering in the project?
The thing that I most enjoyed, getting to meet Christy as well, because I started meeting her in courses and stuff that I'd done, and she is hilarious, and everything she does, she just brings such good fun to. But I think also it's when I've mentioned to other people what I'd like to do with the netball and things like that, when other people have shown an interest and they've said they'd like to learn to do sign language, going along to meetings where there were deaf people there and I felt guilty, and I felt as if I disrespected them because I didn't even learn how to say hello, my name is in sign language. And so improving my knowledge of them learning how to do it. And it's I don't know, it's just been a learning experience for me.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask you about kind of the skills that you'd learnt in the project. So you've obviously kind of said you've learnt BSL and you've learnt kind of about the deaf way. Is there anything else that kind of that stands out at you as kind of a real practical skill that you've picked up during the project? I mean, there's two huge anyway, but...
One of the things actually is looking to see, I think trying to see through someone else's eyes what kind of things that they face on a daily basis. One of the things that I was really surprised about, because I've been on a few deaf awareness courses and was taught just speak normally to a deaf person because they can lip read, and, you know, don't treat them like a thick person. And I was really, really surprised on my first day when I did my sign language, my first sign language lesson. And one of the other students, she was waving her hands about, she was talking really slowly but really loudly. And I was embarrassed. And I thought, wow, is that the sort of thing that a deaf person is subjected to every day from people? And I was really surprised, because I thought somebody going along to learn sign language and the tutor being deaf, but you'd have that level of respect to know not to shout at them, not to talk really slowly, not to wave your arms around. And it's kind of learning how to see what somebody would want from a situation, how to treat them better. Well, how to treat them normally, but well, sort of normally for them, if you know what I mean, so that it helps them, but you're not singling them out to treat them differently, but just knowing what an individual's needs are.
Yeah, absolutely. So in regards of kind of the skills that you've learned, what about things that it's brought to you personally? So that could be confidence wise, it could be with kind of meeting new people, the skills. Has it kind of had an impact? What impact has it had on you personally, yourself in life?
Definitely meeting more people, because I went up to the para netball, and normally I wouldn't want to go to a situation like that when I didn't know anybody, but because I've got so much more confidence to think I have got more to give and I want to improve my knowledge base. And so it's given me the confidence to go and attend courses, to go up to the para netball championships, and just to actually go up and introduce myself to the first person I saw and just said, hi, you know, I've come here to have a look around, is that all right? And then I was invited to join a course. And so from how I used to be kind of just skulking about not wanting to speak to people, to going to somewhere completely new, going up, speaking to loads of people, you know, asking them, or just exchanging information, getting contact details of people. And it's done so much good for my confidence. And it's been really rewarding, and I have got so much more confidence than I had before.
That's lovely to hear, Jo, and really nice to hear as well about going up to the conference. That had such a big impact on you. Really nice. So in when you've been supporting deaf people, so you mentioned Christy, have you got any specific examples where you think it's that we've had an impact, or you've had an impact upon those individuals?
Well, I think definitely the first deaf netball session that we did, and when we started off, there was a girl there who was, she was nervous about being there, and she was there with a support worker, but we started off, we wrote our names on the board there, but she still didn't really want to get involved. By the end of it, we were all enjoying netball together. She was smiling and laughing, and she'd got something out of it. The rest of us were enjoying it, and we were all laughing, and it was just such a positive experience that, you know, through the project, people that we would never have met before have all come together to just share an enjoyment of netball. And it could be any sport.
Yeah.
But just to see somebody at the start of it who was just a bit wary, but come the end of it had relaxed into it. And well, I think we'd all relaxed into it because we were all nervous.
Yeah.
I was especially nervous.
I remember.
Oh, terrified actually. But you know, by sort of quarter of an hour, 20 minutes into it, and I thought to myself, I don't know what I was worried about, because it's just a group of people playing netball.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun. That was why it was disappointing that obviously because of coronavirus we had to stop.
Yeah.
But you know, to just meet loads of different people who are all there to join sport and just to have a good time was really, really rewarding.
Yeah, so I'm kind of thinking along that. I mean, that answers my next question probably quite well, but about how do you feel that your involvement with the project and with the netball side of it as well, and even when you were doing working on the park run, that do you feel that we've broken down some of those barriers that deaf people face? And actually, have you know, if we haven't, then why not? But if we have you got an example of that?
Well, I definitely feel that we've broken down some barriers, because one of the things that people have asked me before, because I suppose people have talked to people and it's quite well known now that I'm doing the sign language, and they always say, well, how do you get around the fact that they can't hear a whistle? So when I've explained about flags, and I said, you know, even learning a little bit of sign language, doing the flags and things like that. And they said, oh yeah, we'd love to have a go. You know, anytime you need to make up a team, we'll do it. So I think probably initially there'd be a bit of nerves and there was a bit of confusion as to how it worked. But when you sort of explain to someone, well, you know, it's easy, we'll do it with flags, and, you know, it's a bit different, but with a few tweaks, we can all enjoy it. And then people are just seeing it as an opportunity to play netball with another team. So it's definitely breaking down, but obviously, you know, there's still things that can be done, like the student I was with, just to make it aware. You don't go in there shouting, speaking really slowly and waving your hands about. But it's definitely working so far. And when I did the blended netball webinar the other day, you know, that's another area. And I just think, you know, this sort of thing, being able to play netball and go into the para netball thing, it's opened my eyes to different things, sport for different people who face difficulties being able to get it done, but just a few steps can make it happen.
Yeah. So Jo, on the back of that, how do you feel supported as a volunteer with the project?
Well, supported in a way. When I was really nervous, I just moan to you and tell you I was nervous about the netball starting.
Yeah.
But it's nice to be able to sort of come to you and say, I've had an idea about this, what do you think? Or for you to be able to come to me with ideas, so that I know that I can contact you and I've got details, and, you know, anytime there's a query, then, and I can come to you. So I feel included and listened to, whether it's that I've got an idea or whether it's just that I'm plain terrified about something coming up. So it's nice to just have that friendly face there when I'm thinking, oh God, I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
Just a voice of reason, really.
Yeah, just that added bit of support and to just give you a nudge.
Yeah.
So do you feel that, and you can be completely honest, do you feel there could be anything that could be improved about with your volunteering experience, or any barriers that you might see of other people getting involved? That would be really helpful to kind of, if you had some thoughts on that.
I don't know, because a lot of it is due to sort of cost, isn't it, and what you can achieve. But I think maybe more on social media that can be put out to. I think it would have been interesting to see how far we would have got with the deaf netball so far if we'd been able to carry on.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to say, but I suppose as long as the work's been put in to make people aware of the sessions that are being run.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything immediately that could be done better. Because, as I say, it might have been different if we'd have been able to carry on with the deaf netball to see what position we were in now and what could have been done differently.
Yeah.
But I can't think of anything straight away.
Yeah, that's fine, Jo. That's perfect. You've given some really, really good answers. And so have you had the opportunity to meet any other volunteers from the project?
Not so far, no.
Okay, is that something that you'd like to see happen in the future?
Definitely, yeah. Because I think the other thing as well is, especially when I went up to the para netball and to meet people up there, parents of deaf kids and things like that, it's just nice to share ideas of something that someone else is doing that you could do. You know, because sometimes a lot of people say things that are total common sense, but that you may not have thought of yourself. And it's just a way of sort of coming up with ideas between you that could get more people involved. And it's always nice to meet up with other people who are trying to achieve the same thing as you.
Yeah, and you've already kind of mentioned that you might be interested in other kind of buddy roles as well. So that was one of my other questions. So I suppose in regards to the taster sessions, I know that the netball kind of got cut short, but the engagement that you have had with deaf people in the project and the support that you've given them, have you noticed any changes in attitudes or behaviours from other people that you've been working with? So that's like hearing people towards deaf people, and any examples of that would be brilliant. I think you kind of spoke a little bit about that earlier on, about raising awareness kind of and addressing kind of people's fears about supporting deaf people. Did you have anything else to add to that at all about maybe other coaches or people that you've worked with, maybe in parkrun, just about kind of the changes in attitudes?
Yeah, I mean, it has been difficult, obviously, because of the limited contact with other people over the last few months. But there was someone I was talking to on a completely different, it was a Purchasing Leggings website, Facebook page. And I happened to mention that I'd done a deaf netball taster session, and she said that she's really into netball and she likes the idea of doing something like that.
Okay.
And as I say, quite a few people on my team, they all know that I've done my BSL level 1 exam. So they're all interested, and they say, oh, you'll have to teach us some sign language. And so I'm waiting to see when the netball signs come out so that I can print some off to just be able to say to sort of a couple of different teams, right, these are the signs that you can use, you know, even if it's just introduce yourself, learn a few signs, and also do the alphabet as well. And people have been really receptive to it. And also somebody came up to me when I had my sign language folder there at a netball tournament. And she started signing to me, so I signed back, and then she said, are you deaf or hearing? But she said, wow. Oh, somebody told me that you do sign language. And so I think it's good because I play for several different teams, and so they all know that I'm learning sign language, and they're all interested to hear more about deaf netball. And I think playing for several different teams means that I have more interaction with people. So we did mention to Christy the last session that we had was, would they be open to hearing people coming along and playing a game?
Yeah.
And she said yes.
Fantastic.
And so it's just, you know, obviously when we're back at Net, when things get a bit back to normal, is, you know, just raising awareness for deaf netball. And still hoping to get a team to go to the Para Netball next year.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you have any ideas on how to encourage more deaf people to take part in activities? So maybe not just necessarily netball, you know, just in general, or maybe just netball. But do you have any ideas on possible approaches that we could have with other deaf people to get them involved?
I think obviously as you're doing the social media sort of videos of people taking part in sport, and the fact that you've got the park yoga, which is done in BSL, so more things like that, just because I know as a hearing person, when I wanted to go and play sport, there was, you know, the nerves. What would I face? You know, I'm going there on my own, nervous about doing it. So add to the fact that you might not be able to hear, so that's another barrier to it. So I think it's just trying to engage in people to get them to sort of be willing to give it a try. So loads of different sports, you know, bring a friend, bring them along, try different things, just try and work out what nerves they could be feeling.
Yeah.
Not just sort of hearing impaired, but, you know, lack of confidence going along, lack of fitness, things like that. And just taste the sessions for things. You don't have to be super fit, but come along, have a go and have fun. So not geared up towards people who've done that sport before, but just a willingness to go along and enjoy it.
And it's very interesting because I had a similar comment this morning about kind of doing things where people can then meet the instructors or the volunteers, and just as you said with the taster sessions, bringing people together and actually kind of introducing them to the people in the project. And that's a good way of that first hurdle being approached. So that's really, really helpful, Jo. And thanks for all your comments. I just add as well that with the good news is that we have just finished our BSL netball guide. It's very short. I think it's like 20 signs that keys up you'd use on a netball court, and numbers and the alphabet. So I will put those together and actually send them over to you as a little pack for you to actually, and feel free to share that with your clubs that you're in contact with. So yes, so I will do that. But did you have anything else to add? We're kind of at the end of the interview now, and it's you've given some really great answers to the questions. Just an opportunity for you to add anything else if you feel that you haven't kind of covered anything.
Well, I think because looking forward to sort of the deaf netball as well, it's kind of, and it is frustrating that we can't do anything more at the moment. But I suppose the idea is, if you're happy for me to mention the deaf netball a bit more amongst the netball teams, see if people would take a pack to learning it. And what would be good to be able to do in future is if we do get a team coming along, even if it's just for fun at a tournament, to just say to tournament organisers, you know, we've got this team here, obviously they can't hear a whistle, but could you do it with flags, to just get to have the deaf netball running, sort of, as obviously there will need to be a few tweaks, but to just get everybody playing netball together.
Absolutely, that's great, Jo.
Ideally that's sort of what I want. So it'll be great to have the packs, because then the people that I know, because when I saw the netball positions on Facebook, I would then send it to them and say, you know, here's another one. But they're now sort of looking at the moment, when will netball be back? So it'll be good to have all those ready, so that I can say, right, here's a pack, learn it,
Yeah.
And we can teach you a bit more to be able to introduce yourself, and then hopefully we can just get deaf netball running along with mainstream, everybody playing together.